Untamed is a bit like college-level math. You go into it thinking you know what numbers and operations are, and then everything gets destroyed and you have to pick up the pieces until you have something that vaguely resembles a calculation. Was that a weird analogy? Weird is appropriate, because Power Untamed is one of the most unusual and unique builds in the game, and I still haven't decided if that's a good thing or not. It's so unusual that I'm going to have to break format a bit, because Power Untamed defies so many conventions that it makes talking about things like utility and survivability a little bit pointless, as you'll see later on. You also only really get one weapon choice, it's hammer, and let me explain to you why. Essentially, the whole thing revolves around what is probably one of the most busted traits of all time, Fervent Force, which reduces all of your cooldowns by 4 seconds whenever you hit a CC. Hammer has a lot of CC. You can imagine things getting a bit hectic from there. Thing is, all of the hammer skills are different between your regular and unleashed states, and if it has CC in one of the versions, it doesn't necessarily have that in the other two. So not only is there an order to your skills that you kind of have to keep for the sake of the cooldowns, and is more punishing than most other builds to fall out of, you also constantly have to switch across two forms. Hot tip, if you want to be actually good at this build, swap the F5's keybind with what is normally a weapon swap. You're only using hammer anyway. If you're looking at the footage at the background, or god forbid the logs, you might notice that I completely suck at this. This was more or less the first time I played it in a real fight. I practiced a bit beforehand, and calling this build hard to pick up would be an understatement. It requires a lot of practice to actually work. And unlike the example that I keep bringing up, Power Deadeye, where the benchmark is so high but the fall-off is actually reasonable, no. If you're not good at this build, you're gonna completely suck with it. There is almost no middle ground. But actually investing the time can be super worth it. The high benchmark is one benefit, but here's the thing. Because of Fervent Force, your utilities will have little to no cooldown. If you were scratching your head with a recent patch why Stone Signet didn't get its cooldown reduction rolled into the baseline as almost everything else did when they changed the cooldown traits, it's because pre-patch, Untamed could get perfect or at least near perfect uptime on invulnerability. Yeah, you can still get a lot of it, mind you, and hey, does that really matter when you can have 50% damage reduction and 10-ish stacks of stab at pretty much all times? Healing Spring is another highlight. If you do it right, you can pretty much outright delete conditions from the game. There's more, but I think you're getting the picture, and if I try to go through every weird interaction, we'd still be here tomorrow. Power Untamed is, without a doubt, not a build for everyone. It's certainly not for me, as I've learned. But if you ever wanted to hard main one build, really sink your time into it, and be rewarded with some of the funniest, most ludicrous interactions, this is probably it.